so much for coming today, and thank you for being willing to hash through ideas with us. It's absolutely essential for us, so we appreciate it. I will stop talking about this now, and I will kind of transition into introducing you all to the students who will be talking a little bit today. What I'll do is I'll just give a brief introduction of the student, and then you all can come up and talk, and then we'll swap out. The first person is Shelby Floyd, who you briefly met. Shelby was born and raised farming in rural Kentucky. He and his family have a horse farm specializing in training and breeding American saddlebreds. In high school, Shelby was really involved in FFA, and in 2011, he was actually the state winner in ag sales and entrepreneurship, which is pretty impressive. He joined the Berry Farming Program in the fall of 2014 as an FEA major. His area of concentration is agroecology, and he really jumped straight into the culture of the Berry Farming Program. He attended the Healthy Foods Local Farms Conference in the fall, and he also served as a founding member of the new student-led group called Getting Into Nature, or GIN Club. He also helped organize a fundraiser this fall at the Sorghum Festival in Springfield, Kentucky for that group. He combines his classroom and extracurricular education with a variety of very physical work and learning, ranging from his responsibilities on his family farm as well as his membership on the wrestling team. He also works at the Roundstone Native Seed Company, and we're working on a plan whereby he can extend his understanding of the business and production side of native seeds through an experiential learning program there this summer. And I just want to tell you that wherever he is, Shelby wins the respect of all of those around him because he has impeccable manners. If I say it now, he does though. He has impeccable manners, really, really positive attitude, and an incredible work ethic. So with that,
No, it really is an honor to be a part of this program. It's all extremely new to me, especially food production. I've never been a part of it. I'd only set tobacco a few times in my whole life. You know, we were strictly show horses, saddlebreds, and highly involved in that. Almost 60 head of horses, breeding, training, boarding. So the lifestyle, as far as stuff having to be done, things have to be taken care of, and they have to be taken care of. So in that aspect, I have been a farmer my whole life. I actually started in 2011. I was a state winner in ag sales. I was also state runner-up at the wrestling championships and member of the 2011 state dual championship team. And whenever college came around, I kind of put my wrestling first. I had more scholarship opportunity, and there's not a lot of schools in Kentucky that offer agriculture and wrestling, so I put my athletics first. Which was kind of a bad idea because Campbellsville's a great school, but it just wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I couldn't really see where I was going with it. Then this past spring, I got a job offer from a man named John Seymour. He owns and operates Roundstone Native Seed. It's a native seed company. We've got farms from here to South Georgia and northern Florida, specializing in the native seeds, getting things back to CRP. Many of you have heard of CRP programs, especially with tobacco buyout and stuff of that nature. When all these new government grants came through and people were getting rid of tobacco contracts, they focused on this new Conservation Reserve Program, or Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, CREP. That's what we focused on, especially. And you'll see, well, there's actually CRP ground on St. Catherine's College. I was not a member of the company when all that was implemented, but it's a very big program throughout Kentucky, and it has a lot of ties with this sustainable idea, biological diversity of the soil, kind of getting things back to the way it used to be, trying to get soils and wildlife habitat, just kind of trying to right the wrongs that we've made throughout the last 200 years. So I'm working, I was actually spraying a farm at the time. They started a new wrestling program in St. Catherine this past year. And one of my old high school coaches was set to be the assistant coach. So he had called me a while ago, and I said, I don't think I'm going to join. I like what I'm doing. I'm making a lot of money. I think I'm going to stick with what I'm doing. And I was actually in the tractor spraying a farm with chemicals that we're not supposed to talk about. As sustainable functions, but I was in the tractor and I was spraying the farm, and it was rough, and it was hot, and my head was hurting. And I turned the radio down and I called Coach Canner, Coach Gary Canner. I called him out. Like I said, I was still spraying this farm, and I was on the phone. I said, would it be too late to ask if I could come join your team? I think when you come back to school. Because I kind of realized that I wasn't going to be 20 years old for the rest of my life. And many people had told me, but I had to wait and figure it out myself. So I come home that afternoon. My mom, she was really excited. She loved wrestling. She knew I needed to be in school. So we got on the program, or we got on the school's website and went to searching through stuff and found the berry farming program. I had to look up agrarian because I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. So my mother and I, we looked it up and we talked it over, and this was on, I think, a Friday afternoon. Well, I called the head coach, Spencer Adams, at St. Catherine's wrestling team, and I said, I'm looking at this farming program. I'd like to figure out what it's about. And he was like, well, what are you doing right now? And I said, I'm on the internet looking at it. He said, well, come over, I'm here. So I come straight to St. Catherine. I talked to him on Wednesday about coming back. Friday, I was at St. Catherine. By the next week, I was enrolled full-time in the farming program. It was actually in the late summer, and I was having some trouble getting connected with Dr. Baines because she was busy, and she stays that way. She's a worker bee all the time. I don't know how she holds it all together. Bags, she's got a backpack that probably weighs 40 pounds. A lot of people asking her questions, and like I said, I'd never met her. I'd sent her an email, I'd called her, I'd left messages. Finally, we got in touch, we sat down, and I've been on the fast track to a farming degree ever since then. And this program is full of great people with great intentions and great role models, and seems to be an extremely bright future ahead, and I just feel completely honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Shelby, and I think that you're going to be equally pleased to hear a very different kind of testimony from Winnie Chevron. Winnie and her family have a 70-acre farm that's outside of Campbellsville, Kentucky. And they raise a variety of small livestock, grow hay, maintain a kitchen garden, and most recently, and which is a never-ending source of interest for me, is that they have a country store. So if I ask her, have you heard the weather? She gives me a look like, are you kidding? Have I heard the weather? I've been at the store this morning, yes, I've heard the weather. She holds the distinction of being the first student to major in the FBA program. And she joined us in the fall of 2013 after graduating from Taylor County High School, where she was actually the president of her FFA chapter. She has proven really the ideal St. Catherine College student because she is consummately responsible and engaged and committed to community stewardship. And we really count on her to follow through with the visions and ideas that she generates. And most recently, she helped spearhead the environmental club that I mentioned earlier that Shelby was involved with. She actually, this fall, made her, not first, but second pilgrimage to the Land Institute for the Prairie Festival. So she's endured that long van ride twice. And actually, the first time, it was just me and her and Marshall Berry. And I think you talked to me for about 14 hours straight to keep me awake. So this is the kind of person she is. Excuse me, this year she also attended, I'm going to just run through these. If I steal your thunder on this, I'm sorry. Louisville Sustainability Summit, Festival of Faiths, Healthy Foods Local Farms Conference, and the Slow Money National Gathering. She also interned this past summer at Fox Hollow Farm in Oldham County, where she honed her biodynamic farming skills and learned about CSAs, farmers markets, value-added products, and agritourism. For these reasons and many, many more, Winnie's colleagues, professors, and neighbors respect her deeply. She is the recipient of the Berry Farming Program's 2014 Excellence in Community Leadership and St. Catherine College's October 2014 Student of the Month Award, and we fully expect her to grow into an important community leader with the capacity to empower others by helping forge and bolster markets for small-scale production. So, Winnie.
As she said, I was the first. And how I got there was my friend was looking at the nursing program, and I was going along, and my dad thought it was an all-girls school. So he wanted me to go. And so we went there, and they told my dad it wasn't an all-girls school, and he was upset, but he got over it. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I want to go into agriculture. I've been looking at big state schools, and I just don't want to go there. It's not what I'm looking for. They're not what I want. And they said, oh, well, we have a farming program. Why don't you go over and talk to Dr. Lear Dings? And I was like, all right, sure. So we walked over, and after a 30-minute conversation, I said, this is what I want. And I signed up that day. And then the adventure started. The first year was pretty tough, trying to get more people involved. And the new students came in January, and that was a blessing. It really was. I have great friends all over here, and this program has truly bloomed. Like, just from being a loner, really, to having tons of friends. Like, it's great. And when they said that this is a family, they mean it. Like, I know I can call Eleanor or Barry and say, hey, I need help. They'll be like, all right, where are you? I'll come pick you up. That's a family. And I don't know what else to really say. I mean, this is a family now. But, and I also learned something else, was you don't get anywhere without asking questions. And that's something you can definitely do in this program, is you ask any of them questions, and with the different international kids and just people that are just up the road, you learn from them. You get experience. When you talk to them, you get the experience. When I worked on Fox Hollow Farm this summer, I gained the most experience in my life there. I learned all about biodynamics. If you don't know what biodynamics is, please go home, look it up, because I don't have enough time to try to explain it today. But when I went there, it really showed me a new side, because in Taylor County, there isn't a lot of organic farms. I don't even think there is one. Like, it's not very known. Everyone talks about cattle, corn, and tobacco. That's it. And for me to go down to a country store and say, hey, I'm doing this, and they're like, well, that's what we used to do when we were kids. It's like, yeah, why aren't you doing it though? We need to get back to that. And that's something that I really want to try to harness and try to get local communities back into feeding their own families, not going out to fast food restaurants all the time, just being able to go out, pick a fresh tomato, and come in, cut it, have a beef that's from their own grass-fed farm. And to me, that's something special, is when you can say, I grew this, I made this. And that's something that I really want to share with my community, and also spread it a little bit more if I can. But when I went to the Slow Moaning Conference, it really showed me that people have small ideas, but they can become bigger things. People just like me, it's like, hey, I have an idea, I want to pitch it and go. That's why this summer, I'm actually going to have a CSA. I'm just going to have like 4 or 5 members. I don't want anything too outrageous yet. And I'm just going to start canning myself. Rachel and I are actually going to go get our micro-processing license soon. Sorry, didn't tell you that.
She told me.
But I mean, we were just talking one day, and we were like, hey, we should start like selling stuff, grow it and sell it, and it would be a really good idea. So we got online, and the extension office has a program, and you can get your license. So we're going to do that. And it's just this program, it really helps you step in the direction that you really want. Like Dr. Lee-Baines, if I go and I'm just like, hey, I want to try to do this, she'll say, okay, let's see who we can contact. And that's why I think it's really important that everyone is here today, because the connections that you make in life is the most important.
Thank you. The next student who's going to talk is C.A. Tioye. And C.A. hails from Burkina Faso, which he usually says, oh, it's this country over in Western Africa. So he grew up there working in fields to help provide for his family. And in spite of extremely difficult circumstances, C.A. was and is a very gifted student. And and he was when he was younger was awarded a scholarship to the International School of Ouagadougou, which provided an American-style curriculum. He excelled there, and it was there that he pieced together the fact that expanding arable lands using low-yielding production and methods leads to deforestation, soil erosion, and lower incomes. This really fueled his conviction for earning an education that will allow him to improve his community's self-sufficiency through farmer education and leadership. He joined us here in the spring of 2014. It was very, very, very cold, January, very cold. The Eleanor Bingham, one of the 3 Eleanor Bingham Miller International Scholarship recipients. He's studied community leadership in the FEA major, and he really brings to us a brilliant mind, an incredibly diverse experience, and he's incredibly eager to learn. He's very inquisitive. He's rounded out his education with a variety of enriching activities, the Louisville Sustainability Summit, which actually he attended within the first week of living here in the U.S. We were like, get in the van, you're going to a summit. Okay. And then since then, he's attended the Festival of Faith, the Prairie Festival at the Land Institute, and the Slow Money National Gathering. He spent his summer learning about small-scale diversified farming and native plant propagation at the excellent CSA Farm Field 51 Produce and Drop Seed Native Plant Nursery in Oldham County. This summer, he's working out a plan. He just came to me the other day. I'm so excited. I mean, obviously he's more excited than I am, but I'm really excited. When he was home over the Christmas break, he actually made contact with a school. And if everything works out okay, he'll be an assistant teacher at an agricultural vocational school in Burkina Faso, where he's going to learn more about arid farming systems. We have no doubt that CA is going to make a world of difference in his home community, so I'm happy to welcome him.
Well, where to start? Dr. Williams already talked about the fact that I grew up on a farm. But first, I grew up in Ivory Coast before the war started, and I had to move to Burkina, and that's where I actually I was stronger to help in the farm and everything. But yeah, but that was during the summer vacation. But as I was going to school in the French system, I really didn't know what to do with my life, because I knew I was good in the sciences, in the languages, and when in the French system they ask you what do you want to study after 9th grade, because that's when you actually start to specialize. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I was faced with a big dilemma when I arrived in 9th grade. Thankfully, I got that scholarship into the English school, which gave me more time to think about all this. And even after high school, after graduating from ISO, International School of Ouagadougou, I was still asking myself a lot of questions. And then I had this French teacher who talked to me about St. Catherine and the Eleanor Bingham Miller Scholarship. And that's actually when the big door opened, because after I read a couple lines, I'm like, wow. So, yeah. To this day, I still have a lot of ideas, and all of this experience from January of last year to now, it's been I don't know, it's more experience than I actually had in my 19 years before that. So yeah, it's been exciting, and the time has been flying fast, and I really don't know. I don't have a single word to express all this, but I think I am definitely where I need to be, and with all of you, all the support, and all of the work you all are doing for us, I think I am more than thankful to be here, and I think we are also going to achieve great things, and I'm excited to be a part of all this. Yeah.
Thank you so much, CA. The last student who's going to be speaking today is Mike Lewis. And Mike has, since 2009, had a little bit of a whirlwind himself. He has been a very busy man, from becoming a husband and then a father, not one, but two. He has 2 children now. As a Kentucky proud farmer who is a veteran of the 3rd U.S. Infantry, the Old Guard, he's proven how invaluable, honorable service can be. He began full-time farming in 2010, and after supporting local farmers markets and community-supported agriculture efforts throughout 2011, he founded America's first veteran-oriented food security organization, the Growing Warriors Project, in 2012. Growing Warriors, listen to this, it has helped over 65 veteran families grow more than 18,000 pounds of organic food. It exists to equip, assist, and train our nation's military veterans in ag production for themselves, their families, and the nation. For this kind of work, in 2013, Michael was a celebrated recipient of the Kentucky's Local Food Hero Award, an honor granted by Seed Capital Kentucky and the Kentucky Department of Agriculture to exceptional individuals who promote local, farm-fresh food grown in Kentucky. He has also served as a member of the Kentucky Industrial Hemp Commission and, with the help of fellow veterans, operates America's first federally permitted industrial hemp farm since 1934. At the close of 2014, for this kind of work, Yahoo lauded Michael as one of 8 people who made our world a better place, and his record now stands right next to Alice Waters, Michelle Obama, and Anthony Bourdain. About these things, so I'm sorry if I'm embarrassing you, but I like to sing those kinds of praises. Obviously, we are thrilled for Mike to join the berry farming program last fall, but even without this litany of accomplishments, we would have counted ourselves lucky to welcome him into our ranks because he's so compassionate and energetic, and he is so incredibly talented. So, Mike.
I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I usually have a podium to contain lateral movements, natural defense I have. I also have some notes because I don't know if you guys are aware of this. I've started getting re-educated and I have a lot of things stuck in this head now that keep on moving. So thanks. It's a really great honor to be here. I actually wrote down some notes here. I wanted to tell my story because I think it's really relevant to the berry farming program and the ideals that we're learning and the values that we have. I actually grew up on the other end of the Appalachian Mountains in a small, unorganized community called Avon Valley, Maine. I grew up on my grandfather's subsistence farm. I have the honor of, I think, other than Dr. Lucas being the oldest person in the berry farming program. But in the summer of 1981, the state paved the road to my community. And that fall, they bussed us out to a school. And that pretty much ended my idyllic childhood. I realized that only poor people raised their own food and pooped outside. And the bus ride was full of heckling, and it left a really big mark on my little young head. And that day promised myself I would do everything to get away from my home and to get away from poverty. I didn't have a lot of options being from a small logging community in Maine, so the first recruiter that drove up our road got my signature. Much to my surprise, the $786 a month that I got did nothing to alleviate my status as being poor. After service, I stumbled around for a long time. I went from job to job. Eventually, I found my calling as a modern-day snake oil salesman, delivering people all manners of happiness that they could desire if they were watching late-night infomercials. All they had to do was give me their credit card numbers. My silver tongue actually really quickly caught the ear of one of the major investors of the company, and I quickly transitioned into mortgage-backed securities, and I don't need to tell all of you how that worked out for me. I do recall one afternoon in 2005, I was rushing out my door. I was late to close a deal, and I looked over at the young brother's yacht that I had worked my butt off for 2 years to buy, and realized that it had been sitting in my yard since I bought it. And I just instantly remembered fishing when I was a little kid on the side of the Appalachian Mountains for brook trout with my family, and I just had this cognitive thought, well, if I ever be that happy again? And once again, I kind of looked around and started longing a lot. So at that point, for the first time in my life, I really started looking at myself, and it was a real hard time. I actually assessed my values and who I was as a person, and I wasn't very proud. And where I'd gotten. So as quick as I could, I got rid of everything I had and kept my truck, fit everything I could possibly fit in the back of my truck. And I headed south. And at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, I met a woman who, despite me being dirt poor and living in the back of a truck, fell in love with me. And we settled on a small plot of land in Rockcastle County, Kentucky, and began farming. After our son was born, I found out that you actually need money to raise a kid. So, that's a true story. In complete naivety, I cut 20 pounds of our best salad mix, and I walked into our local high school to sell it. The looks, the stack of paperwork, and the regulations I had to read immediately dove me into farm advocacy. I thought I had figured out what was wrong with everything, and if I could just talk to people, I would fix it all. So over the next few years, I started a new role using my polished sales skills, removing people from their money to remove their money to supporting small-scale sustainable farmers. And I sort of embraced that role as a community advocate, and I traveled around the country advocating for new markets and new opportunities for small and sustainable farmers. Actually, numerous times saying the typical line, we need 100,000 new farmers a year for the next 10 years to feed our country. I realized that was really quickly about 2 years ago. I realized that once again I was selling falsehoods to my fellow Americans. You see, so much of our food, such a large percentage of our food is grown by such a small percentage of our farms that if we lost another 200,000 family farms tomorrow, the average consumer would have no idea. It wouldn't affect them in the grocery aisle. So, as it turns out, what I had learned was the farm crisis, as I had been paid to go around and speak about it, was not actually a crisis of the farm. It was a crisis of community, it was a crisis of land use, and it was a crisis of our collective community moral values. When I first heard of the berry farming program, I knew that it was for me. I still believe the most divine calling a person can have is that of caring for the land, nurturing it, and feeding your fellow man. I still believe we need 100,000 new farmers a year, but that alone is not the answer. We need communities and consumers who are aware of what a true agrarian farmer brings to their community. We need 100,000 new farmers a year who can farm with dignity and make a fair living without being forced into modern slavery of indebtedness. We must improve. First thing we have to do is reshape our values and our morals before we can in good conscience create 100,000 new farmers. One of my favorite Wendell Berry pieces is The Contrariness of the Mad Farmer. And it is that because that's how I felt oftentimes talking to groups of people about farming and conscious good decisions. I felt like I was talking to a wall. I was the madman in the room, and I really was the guy talking sense. Sorry. I wrote too much. Can you tell I'm nervous? The last few years of that work had really sort of gutted my optimism, my sense of hope and everything. Now, a little more than halfway through my first year in this program, surrounded by all these energetic young minds, I have to confess that I will promise you, this summer I will once again cut 20 pounds of salad mix, and I will walk it into the local school, and I will try my best to sell it to them regardless of their stack of paperwork. And I also want to say to my fellow students, I apologize. We had a program, we had a lunch, we were talking about ways to change the school, and I laughed at them. And I said, there's no way we're gonna compost in our cafeteria because there's this word called policy, and it's gonna be a lot of hard work. But I've learned this year, I brought these buckets. You guys make up some signs. Composting in our cafeteria is just as easy as putting out buckets and putting up signs. So I want to apologize for trying to introduce you to the traumas that I experienced talking to walls. I'm always humbled by being asked to talk in front of people. I have to say this is a real honor to be here. This program, what it represents, all the hard work that the very center, St. Catherine's College has put in, has really given me a place to call home and given me an opportunity to find out who I am and how I can best help my fellow students resettle America. I will never be able to express that gratitude enough, but I thank you all for caring and being here.